What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here, reviewing another record for you submitted by our patrons over on Patreon. Today we are talking about A New Day at Midnight by David Gray from 2002. Obviously, a little familiar with David Gray. Ladder was a big hit when I was in high school, I believe. And this came out the year I graduated. Interesting that this is a record that I don't think I ever sat down and listened to in full, but I recognized almost every song from it, and I don't know why. But the hits for sure, and then pretty much everything else too sounded familiar. So it was definitely in the air. There used to be a commenter on our channel that would just insist on us ranking the David Gray albums, and we resisted. So this is the consolation for that person. I don't think it's the same person that submitted on Patreon.
Yeah, I remember that guy. Do you still comment all the time? He hasn't mentioned David Gray in a little while. I didn't recall anything from this album, not even the hits. I'm sure I've heard them. They just nothing on here stood out, we'll say. So not a good sign. If there were hits on this album, they were played a lot. I couldn't, separate them from a million other kind of sound alike things that were around the same time and in the preceding years. And the only David Gray I know other than this was White Ladder, which oddly came out in 1998, so we listened to it for that deep dive. And then it didn't chart until like 2000, so it's kind of one of those weird albums that was lost in time and out of place and blew up. And this is the difficult follow-up to a massive, oversized, world-encompassing hit record, which those are often difficult albums.
All right, so let's get into it. What do you think of the songwriting here?
I mean, songwriting is, I think it's solid, but this is a hard genre to stand out in. And other than, David Gray's voice, I don't know if there's anything particularly notable about it. Like it's a good, in theory, album because I think it has good hooks and it has pleasant lyrics about love. And I just don't know what differentiates it and David Gray's style and his songwriting from a million other UK singer-songwriters with a guitar. Um, I listened and I just couldn't find like a distinct songwriting trick or hook or attribute about David Gray in particular, that makes him stand out. And these songs, like I said, I'm sure I've heard them before, but I did not remember anything. Like none of these songs jogged my memory. Like, oh yeah, I remember that from, back in 2002, or I remember that from some episode of Grey's Anatomy or, whatever. It all kind of sounds the same to me. And I think that's kind of the problem with all of these songs and with David Gray in general and what he tried to do after White Ladder broke out, which I mean, maybe he was like a little early with this style, but by the time this album came out, it was just everywhere. Like you just couldn't escape, kind of soft, boring UK white guys with a guitar and some strings. So I think it's a fine songwriting on this album. It's just not something that really interests me.
I don't entirely disagree, but like you, I think the songwriting is pretty solid. I think he writes good melodies. I think he's maybe he's not a great lyricist, but maybe like a slightly above average lyricist. Other Side and Be Mine were the two singles, but like I said, I recognized a whole bunch of other songs, and I also like I also said I didn't listen to this record a lot. So whatever little exposure I had to them, they did stick in my mind because I think the melodies are strong enough. We can get into more of the issues later with the production side of things, but yeah, I think song wise, yeah, he doesn't stand out like super a lot among a sea of other similar writers, but if you take 100 of those guys, you know,
Top
he's
half,
he's like around
top third.
80% yeah, percentile there. All right, the musicianship on this record.
It was fine. I can't say anything stands out really. I'm trying like thinking back to White Ladder. I don't know if it had more personality in the guitar playing, but I do think this is more like adult contemporary. A lot of it. There are some standout tracks, and in particular, Caroline featuring the great BJ Cole on pedal steel has a really cool like frenetic shootout solo. Everything else, sounds professional and adult and friendly and nice and made for radio. But I can't really think of anything that really stood out to me in the performances from the singing. I like his accent. I would say that's the best part about this. But the guitar playing and the bass and the drums are all just, good, but nothing that I would really, highlight as, oh wow, you got to hear this.
Yeah, it's all just good. David Gray and Craig McClure play the bulk of everything on the record. There's a few other people, like you mentioned, BJ Cole. There's like two different bass players, someone named Tim Bradshaw, but like it's mostly just David Gray and Craig. And yeah, the playing's competent. It's good, but it's very safe. Not a lot of flash or anything that would draw attention to itself. It's really just kind of supporting the songs, but like you can support songs and still be a little more interesting, I think. The production,
I imagine this is where you'll have a lot to say. To me, it sounds like the early 2000s, and it was produced by David himself with, I think, that Craig guy, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who else was involved with it. And I think it sounds okay. I like the acoustic guitar sound. I like the way the piano sounds. It's big and important. And there's some dated 2000 touches. Like the synths have that swirly, squishy, dull contemporary sound effects on songs like Be Mine. And other than that, I mean, it's just not a very standout album in any aspect. And that includes the production. There's no like trick or a sizzle or anything here that takes it to the next level. It's just all kind of the same. It's all cut from the same kind of cookie cutter early 2000s cloth. And yeah, it's just it is what it is.
yeah, it just plays it way too safe. It dials back some of like the like generic program drum beats and stuff that White Ladder has on it, and that was an issue for me listening to that one. So it's not quite all that, but it's just even less interesting though. It's just so like the production and the arrangements are just so predictable on pretty much every track. I was trying to think of um like a different production style that could work for this because I think like I said he's got some good songs. His melodies are really strong. I think if it was approached maybe a little bit more like a John Bryan production, like when Fiona Apple's When the Pawn or something like that. If it sounded a little more like that, which isn't like a super experimental thing or anything, I think it could easily be applied to these tunes and just make it a little bit more interesting.
They all seem to just go from point A to point B. And like that's it. Like there's a 3-minute journey from that point to this point, and it never like goes outside the line. Like there's no coloring anywhere else other than just like straight down the line. And it's just so squeaky clean. And you kind of get it because Babylon or White Ladder and Babylon was such a huge hit. Like it's the 11th best-selling album in the UK in the 21st century. It's the best-selling album in Ireland ever. And I feel like anytime you have like these monster albums that kind of come out of the blue, the next album is always super safe and always predictable and always like, okay, we don't want to alienate all of our millions of new fans. Let's just play it down the middle, kind of rehash what we already did. And this album just screams safe. Don't alienate. We want, another million seller, even if it's not as good. we're gonna just, bank on all those people who bought White Ladder coming back for this one, and we don't want to, mess that up.
Okay, so best and worst track.
The best for me, I really like Caroline. I thought that was maybe the one instance of it like almost coloring outside the lines, thanks to that BJ Cole pedal steel. And worst song, I don't know, something in the middle, maybe Nowhere.
Best for me, maybe Caroline. If not that, then I'd say Dead in the Water. I like that one a decent bit. And worst would be Last Boat to America.
Hmm.
All right, final score for this.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it. It's like a high 3 star for me. It's not 3.5 stars because I just didn't get much out of it. But it's not a bad album. It's just not interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. Like, I could take a song at a time from this. Like, if you just play me one song from it, I would probably grade it fairly well, but there's just nothing to get like excited beyond some strong melodies. Yeah, I'm right there with you. High three. All right. Well, let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments if you've heard this record. If you haven't, go check it out. Come back, leave us a note, and hit like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. All kinds of stuff in the video description, our Patreon, our merch, our record label, and all of our social media. If you could follow us any of those places, that would be great. We'll see you in the next one.